widen this a little bit more, right? Because if you imbibe diversity and inclusion, you imbibe it for everybody, whether they're differently abled, whether the gender alignment or orientation is different, whether it's LGBTQIA, whether it's people with mental, in some form, people on the mental spectrum of autism. So if you bring in diversity and inclusion, it's not just one community, it's the whole world that benefits. Because
Definitely.
you're allowing people to coexist by who they are and who they are, fundamentally their backgrounds and everything. So diversity, which I keep saying, is not only gender, sexual orientation, but it's also personality, generational diversity. Why do we expect certain ages to be a certain way? Why do we look at older people with a certain lens? Why do we look at younger people with certain lens? So what I love about diversity and inclusion, the concept, is the fact that it allows everybody to be who they are, irrespective of how old they are, what background they come from, what education they may have had, what is their orientation. So it presents to you an opportunity to be and be welcoming and be joyful to be in the presence of people who are vastly different from you. Now, the world works on divisive politics. Whether you look at religion, whether you look at, the idea of control and power has always existed, and that's where competition comes in. But what diversity and inclusion does is it removes competition. It makes it collaborative. It creates a space of coexistence, but not just coexistence, thriving, beautifully joyful coexistence. And where you can celebrate each person for the spirit that they are, they carry, and they embody. Now, that is utopian almost, right? It sounds utopian. Like when I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, it's unreal, because that's not the reality of the world that we live in. The world that we live in is quite judgmental. The world that we live in is not very. So then what do? One is you increase awareness, for sure. To say that be aware of these things. And in a professional environment, what it lends you very nicely is you can put structures around it. You can train people. You can say you can have your biases, but keep them to yourself. Don't let them operate it. You can have processes, methodologies. You can have ways in which you bring the ecosystem together, if not by mindset, by practice. So you put in very smartly ways to bring people into the ecosystem who will see the ecosystem for what it is and not for just themselves and their perception of it. So you strategize and you engineer it a little bit, because mindset change takes a long time, but framework change is easy. It's at a policy level. So at a policy level, can you hire without looking at gender? Can you be more inclusive in your practices of washrooms, structurally? Can your workplace be more inclusive? Can you have a ramp? Can you have it made friendly for people who are blind? So, it's all of these, everything is a blind spot. We're living in a multiple blind spot universe. And for the blind spot to go, you have to bring your attention to it in the here and the now and be mindful of it. And when you go through the process of looking at diversity and inclusion as something that is not binary. Even diversity and inclusion is not binary. It's not just gendered. Gender is no more binary. Diversity and inclusion is no more binary. And it's got so much to do with so much more. The personalities of different people. And of course, there's statistics and research and data which tells you that diversity is good for you. If you're inclusive, so much more performance. There's always data telling us it's good to save our planet. There's always data telling us it's good to be inclusive. But what really happens? Why is it such a struggle? That's because it's the mindsets people come in with. And that change we need to invest in now for it to show results in the future. So there's short-term goals and long-term goals, and they both need to be invested in equally.